Today, we are in day 3 of our May monthly training, how entrepreneurial leaders build and sustain relationships over the long haul. As we've said before, we always tell in any training, whether it's in corporate training or entrepreneurial training, building relationships is one of the key factors to success in business. But over the years, we've kind of missed some of the key points on how we need to build relationships. On money, we discussed. On Monday, we discussed how that's part of the mantra of entrepreneurship is building relationships, whether that's with our clients or potential clients, our audience, our referral partners, partnerships in business, and however that goes, in that those relationships all have nuances to them. And it takes a certain consistency, like anything else, like making money, like having enough people to talk to, like being out on social media, your visibility and all that, is that you need to be doing that consistently. Now, people say they're building relationships while they're growing their business, but people get busy, entrepreneurs get busy, business owners get busy. And so what happens is that they don't do as good of a job on follow-up. And if you remember from Monday, what I said, there are 2 key principles. 1, is you go first. 2, don't let any situation have more meaning than the relationship itself. And the example I gave is really in a sales conversation when you're building a relationship through conversation to see if this is a person that could possibly be a client, if not now, down the road, and that if you have more energy around closing this client than you do around building the relationship, then they are feeling like you are pushing and you're not attracting them to you. And so they feel like those sales tactics, really those sales tactics that people say used car sales person, is really about the focus more on the sale than on the relationship. And so in reverse, it happens too. So many people are afraid of having sales conversations about talking to people, about asking for business. And so they make the relationship more important than the actual sale, even when this person is a right fit client. And so really it has to be in balance when it comes to sales conversations. But there are all kinds of other relationships. Your client relationships are based not only getting them results, but they want to know you've got their back. Your potential clients want to see your expertise in the results and that there's some sense they can trust you. And then your audience wants to love on you based on what your content is, how your personality is, your character. All those things are important. And so on Tuesday, what we talked about was the framework for that. What is the framework about building relationships and sustaining them? And that framework talked about, number 1, is really having a genuine interest in that person. That goes back to principle number 2, when I said that any situation can't be the more than the relationship itself. And so there has to be a balance of the intention and the relationship building all the time, no matter what. And so you want to be present, and being present is staying in the moment when you're speaking, not jumping ahead, which a lot of coaches, consultants, therapists, anyone that does service-based products that help people, whether it's in their business or their personal growth or mental health or health coaches, there's a tendency for them to jump to the end on how you're going to fix them, let's say. But when you're speaking to someone, even though you know you get great results, and as you get to know this person, you know that you're going to be able to help them, you still have to be present in the moment of where they're at. They have to go through their process so they can figure out in a short period of time whether you're genuine, whether you can really get results, and whether they can trust you. It really comes down to those two. So you want to be present, which is so important, and be connected, which is the other one. Number two, we talked about is get to know them, not just know them, but know about them and know their story. And it doesn't have to be the big story. It can be a portion of their story that's relevant to the relationship building and the type of relationship they are appropriate with you, whether that's a client or a partnership. So those all have nuances that you have to be aware of. And we also talked about genuine, like truly caring, truly valuing them in the moment, and to actually do some extras. And extras could be whatever's appropriate for your type of business or for you, who you are, sending an article, liking a post, commenting, anything extra, making a connection, whatever fits well for that situation and that relationship building, then that's what you need to do. And so the other piece was building the relationship, that language matters and words matter, acknowledgement matters, and encouragement matters. All those things are so important. And so that basically the framework we talked about. And so today what I'm talking about is, what are some of the other areas you need to pay attention to that are important to understand as you're building relationships, no matter what list they fall under, right? Whether they're clients, potential clients, partnerships, referral partners, colleagues, people you just like, you'll never do business with, but you just really like them and you want to build that relationship. So you want to build, of course, the first thing I would suggest is you build an inner circle. Those are people around you who want you to succeed, who want you to win. You're in a circle of relationships, whether you're in a corporate setting or an entrepreneur setting, it actually doesn't even matter. But that inner circle, those are the people that, they're the ones you can call no matter what. Say the thing that you would never say to anybody else, get feedback on, have some consistency and with these folks, but they are there for the long haul. It could be a colleague, it could be a personal relationship. It could be actually a former client that you've gotten to know so well that you're now colleagues, but they want you to be successful. And of course, you want your people, your inner circle to be successful too. That could be people you met in a mastermind, whatever it is. But I always like to recommend 1 to 3 people. Maybe you need more, depending how extroverted you are, but you really have an inner circle. Part of my inner circle, I have one colleague that every Thursday morning we meet. We meet minimum for an hour, some days 2 hours. And when we're traveling, things get in the way, we don't meet. So I'll say on average 2 to 3 times a month, but she is part of my inner circle and I can get honest feedback. I can say anything that's on my mind and she can tell me if I'm just full of it, and I'm going to listen to it. I'm not going to ignore it. And so your inner circle could be personal, could be a business colleague. Of course, some of us have best friends and several best friends, but you may have like an inner circle for work and an inner circle personally, and some may cross over. But it's important that those people have your back for you to be successful and for you to acknowledge that and love them for that. So you also want to know when you inspire others that you're doing that with your actions, your energy. Your energy is so important in relationships. And the third piece is your passion and purpose. And so all these 3 things, actions, energy, passion, and purpose, intertwine with each other. And so I'll just say all 3 up front. But your energy is really what I talked about on Monday, is how you make people feel. How you make them feel is better than what you said. And if they feel good after a call or seeing them in person, or, that's what you want. And you want from them also. I'm talking more about what you can do during this training, but everything that I'm talking about, you want from other people also. So your actions, you inspire people by your actions. I've had plenty of people that maybe I haven't talked to in a year, especially recently, haven't talked to as much, haven't seen for sure in the last 2 years, but, starting to travel, being out there, and people saying, oh my gosh, Lorianne, I saw this on your LinkedIn and blah, 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 blah. And, but I would have known if I hadn't seen them. And so when you take that feedback, it tells you a lot. Your relationships are talking to you. So beside that inner circle, you want to think about who you're going to work with, who you're going to partner with, people you enjoy. So the other piece is not just strategic. A lot of times in business, we do a strategic partnership, and that's fine. But when you want someone in your inner circle or building a really important relationship, that comes down to their character, their competence, and their chemistry with you, and vice versa. That's besides that inner circle, the people you work with, your clients. I mean, I want wonderful clients who I tap into that need the best version of myself for them to get the results they need. So that, I want them to be competent. That doesn't mean they know everything. I want them to be able to take my guidance or whatever I'm working with them, whether it's their business or to master their strategy, master their money, or to master their psychology. It doesn't matter, but that there's some competence, there's character, and there's chemistry. So important. So important when you're thinking about relationships in all areas. And of course, you want to love on people. And I'm not talking about intimate relationships, but to really what that means is display authenticity. A lot of times we hold back because we see all the wonderful stuff on social media, on LinkedIn, or someone's email, or people getting up and saying everything is hunky-dory, because we don't see what's really going wrong in the background and what they've struggled with, what lessons they've learned, because we've all gone through that. But that's not what people want, especially right now. People want to be inspired. They want to be encouraged. They need that more from us because they're emotionally tired from the last 2 years. They're mentally exhausted. A lot of people, maybe not you, but a lot of your audiences, a lot of people you meet online, and when you meet them in person, that's what they're coming with, even if they don't recognize it. So the inspiration is great. And so you want to be generous with that. You want to have that interest like we talked about before. And the other piece I'll say, this last piece, number 5 for today, is really to have emotional self-management. I talked yesterday about one of the pieces of influence about having a high EQ, emotional IQ, because it's so important that we self-manage ourselves around feelings and emotions, because that's how actually people talk to you first. You can actually feel someone's feelings come across a Zoom call, come across a text message, sometimes just the way it's worded. And what it does, it may trigger you into thinking it's something it's really not. So self-management of your emotions is really high in entrepreneurial competency. And you need to learn that well, and to know yourself well, to know what will trigger you, to know when you feel something you shouldn't in that moment, to get control of yourself quickly. And sometimes I tell people actually to even state it out loud. Oh my goodness, that, I got, boy, that gave me concern. And, oh, why should I be concerned? And, oh, that's just something that passed. Here we go. I think what I'm really thinking about is this. You can actually use a little minute self-talk with another person. Doesn't work as well in a group. Sometimes it depends what the conversation is, to actually get control of yourself until you do it automatically. You have to be self-motivated to want to build relationships. Relationships are easy and relationships are hard, whether they're your personal relationships or your professional relationships. People are busy. People always want from us, especially as entrepreneurs, what we can give. Give. We're generous, but at the same time, there are people out there that want to take. And so even in your business, you have to remind yourself of that and have good boundaries. We know the clients that they buy the low end of your program or a course, and they're the ones with questions all the time, constantly. Take. You always want to respond, but at the same time, there are people that are takers. And so it's important to have great boundaries and to train them how to treat you in that relationship if something should happen. So being self-motivated is important, having those good boundaries, and you manage your relationships. You manage your personal relationships and you manage your professional relationships, your entrepreneurial relationships. All of them should come to the top of the list every single day. Told a client yesterday, you need to reach out to these people. No, that's too long. Shorten the period. You don't want to be a pest. Most of the time people ask me about this, about being a pest is around sales conversations. I'm really talking about relationships in general. Just part of them are sales conversations because we're trying to get someone to become a client because we are the right person for them. That relationship has a lot of nuances and every other single one. But besides having lots of sales conversations and clients, you need to build out your other relationships, your inner circle, your partnerships, your colleagues, all really important, because when you are really in need and you need someone in one of those areas, you'll have that built up. And it'll be an easy phone call, an easy text for you to get support because you've been You went first, which is the most important thing. You get relationships based on what you put in first. You can't be waiting for someone to build a relationship with you, no matter what area it's in. So really, really important. So today, kind of the last thing I want to talk today about is how people derail themselves when it comes to relationships. And a lot of times, it's around that you didn't self-manage or you ignored a conversation you should have. So people derail themselves when they have the inability to self-manage, when they mix up their interpersonal problems with the relationship before them, and their inability to handle stress with other people, and the inability to handle conflict. So let's talk a little bit about each of them. I've spent some time on self-management. I haven't spent a bunch of time on ignoring something you should talk about. That is a form of communication and is a negative form of building a relationship, is when you ignore something you should be having a conversation with someone. It can be just as easy to get it really, really quick. Like, when you said that, this is how I felt. And I'm just wondering if I'm reading this the right way. If you say it way at the beginning, when the first sentence or the first interaction around something that's not, you felt is potentially didn't go well, doesn't have to be a big deal. I'm not even talking about anything being a big deal. You say it right in the moment. And though you guys in a few seconds can get past that, or you get the truth about what that is when it's less emotionally charged. So that's the thing to remember about self-management also. The thing about interpersonal problems is, like I've said before, business problems, professional, you bring your personal problems to your professional world and vice versa. And so those interpersonal problems get projected onto other people and situations, mostly people. And so your inability to recognize that your interpersonal problems, whatever it is, if you brought something from home and you are having a conversation and that bubbles up because they said one word and it triggered you, and you are projected onto that person, what happened at home, whatever it was, you, in that moment, if you don't recognize it, you have the inability to understand how interpersonal problems get projected onto other relationships when they shouldn't, because it's not part of that relationship. Really important to not derail yourself with that. Projection happens all the time. And one of the things I said on Monday or Tuesday, I don't remember when, is people do not hear you through your lens when you're speaking. People hear you through their lens. And so when you project onto their lens, and that's not their lens, whatever that interpersonal problem was, then you have put a chip into that relationship, because they don't know what happened at home. They don't know what that just happened. And you've been on those calls and Zoom calls and text messages like, hey, what just happened? Well, if you don't understand what just happened, is someone probably projected something on you. It's kind of a clue. Doesn't happen all. That doesn't mean that's 100%, but you can take that as going, God, I don't know. Gosh, I don't know what just happened there, because it was something out of the blue, and you know it. So the other thing I'll just say, handling stress. Entrepreneurship causes a lot of stress for a lot of people, especially at the beginning, especially knowing that 75 to 85% of entrepreneurs do not make enough money to not only pay themselves, but keep the lights on. And that within 5 years, that same 75 to 85% of entrepreneurs will be out of business. It is a tremendous stress that money brings to the table all the time, and how to handle that when things are not going well with your money. Here's the thing that is most important for you to understand. Even when things are not going well with your money, you have to find the ability to be able to be calm, even in a sea of chaos. That is I was going to say trick, but it's not a trick. That is the way out of chaos, is being calm in the sea of your own chaos. When you can't pay that bill, you can't pay your team, you can't pay yourself, you're afraid the electricity is going to go off. Their calmness, not that you're ignoring the problem, but the calmness is really about you being able to have clarity around that issue. So when you're not handling your stress well, what happens? It again overlays onto relationships. Really important to be able to handle stress in a healthy way. We all get stressed, and there are days when we will not be calm. But overall, how quickly can you get out of being stressed in a way that you can handle the stressful situation? Situations are stressful. You don't want to be stressed, and you want to have clarity. And so you don't over project that onto other people and your relationships. So the last piece I'll talk about is, because most people can't handle conflict. There are either people that'll get in your face around conflict in a relationship, or they will ignore conflict to the point that it causes conflict. And I want you to know that avoiding conflict is also causing conflict and communicating conflict. It's just happening energetically. So if you've got that going on in a relationship, whether it's professional or personal, because a lot of these things I'm talking about, you can apply to your personal situation, is that conflict, it speaks louder than words. And even though you are being passive aggressive about it, or you're ignoring it, or you are completely took it out of your head, so it never comes in, it still causes conflict. And how you do that in a professional relationship really sets a tone for not continuing and sustaining great relationships. So just a reminder, on Monday, I talked about relationships in general. Tuesday, I talked about the framework. And today, I talked about 5 other areas you need to pay attention to around relationships, and how to build them and sustain them, and then how you can derail yourself and to watch out for those. And so those of you that signed up on Zoom, you're going to get the replays. Those of you that are on Instagram, if you would like the replays, comment there, and I will send them to you, whether you just want today or you want all 3. We will continue tomorrow on how to ask great questions as you're talking to people, and how that elicits all the things that you want to know about someone, and how to show someone how you can be trusted, and to take that relationship to the next level, no matter what category or relationship it is in. So have a wonderful day. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. We'll see each other at 12 noon Central Time on Zoom, on Facebook, on Instagram. Bye for now.